Everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to DingoTalk, where we explore the experiences that make us who we are. Here's your host, Carlo Guadagnino.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is DingoTalk. My guest this week is the head football coach at Maryville College, Coach Ben Fox. But before we get into Ben Fox's story, let's talk about Maryville for a little bit. It's located in Tennessee, Maryville, Tennessee. They have 1,132 students. The cost before aid is $54,000. The cost after aid, roughly, once you get all the grants and whatnot in place, you're looking at about $38,000. They have a 66% acceptance rate and a 56% graduation rate. The top three majors at the school are psychology, business, and the social sciences. And again, as I tell you every week, make sure if this is if this is a place that you're interested in, first off, check out the website. It's www.maryvillecollege.edu. Talk to your guidance counselor, talk to the coaches that are recruiting you, talk to your football coaches, talk to your parents. Get as much information as you can, and if Maryville's the place for you, look into them through their website. Now, Coach Fox, as has been kind of the play this year with our interviews during the in-season, these all happened about roughly a week to a couple days before teams opened up camp. So there's going to be a lot of information from Coach that's where he was looking in to the season. Obviously, we're at the midway point now for a lot of teams. But it's not my job to tell Coach Fox's story. It's his job. So without further ado, this is Coach Fox. What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Dingo Talk. My guest this week is the head football coach at Maryville College, Coach Ben Fox. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on. Pumped to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you. As you are, when we'll get to it, 30th coach in the 123-year history of the Maryville program. But before we do that, we got to find out how we got here. So how did you find yourself at Wash U?
Man, I'll tell you what, you'll have to ask Larry Kimbaum that. I'd never heard of Wash U until they recruited me. I was lucky. I was a really good student and a pretty good football player in high school, and wanted to try to go to a really good school and wanted to go to an elite school, and they kind of started sending me stuff in the mail. I'd never heard of Wash U, and it's funny. My dad is retired now, but he was the dean of students and athletic director at an NAIA school called Maryville College, which is like a private Christian college in Northeast Tennessee, where I'm from. And a couple of his students that he had at Milligan that were interning at our church in like our youth department were from St. Louis. And they were like, hey, Dean Fox, if they actually are recruiting your son to go there, like, y'all got to go out there and go see it. It's awesome. We had no idea, right? And so we went out there. I loved it. I had just awesome coaches I had a chance to play for and some really good friends. And it was, I grew up working on my granddaddy's dairy farm.
Right.
Nobody, it's kind of one of those things in a small town. My granddaddy didn't have sons. He had four daughters, and none of the son-in-laws farmed or any of that. So he waited and waited, and then he had grandsons, and he got his work out of us, right? And so that was kind of what I'd grown up around. And when I went to St. Louis, buddy, I might as well have gone to Mars. I mean, I might as well have gone to Mars. But it was a lot of fun, and it was. Coach Kimbaum's been such a huge influence on me and somebody that I respect tremendously. His passion for the game and for the players and how much he cared about us and his intensity. And he was great. He was awesome.
Now, when does the coaching bug grab you? When does it click in your head that we're going to throw the clipboard, shoulder pads come off, clipboard and visor?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I kind of always loved football. When you're a quarterback, you kind of grow up that way and you always see football a little bit differently. And I love the game, and I kind of always thought I wanted to coach. I thought that was kind of something I wanted to do. So much of, when I went from my high school to go play college football, I was the first one in 20 years that had played college football from my high school. And so it was just going to play somewhere was a big deal for my community. And so that was really important to me. And I want to go to the best school I could go to. So that's how I landed at WashU, right? Just to prove to people that you could do it. Because I tell everybody all the time, I'm a proud son of Appalachia. Like that's what it is. And I wanted to prove to people that you could do it.
Hmm.
But I kind of knew I always really wanted to coach because I just kind of loved all the stuff that was involved in it. I wanted to have a kingdom impact and an impact on people around me. And so Coach K knew that. And so he and I just kind of talked about that. And so like it was great. I mean, it was really cool. When I was in college, we ran the Nike Coach of the Year clinic. WashU was the host for it in St. Louis because we were the only school that played football in the Metro St. Louis area, right? And
Right.
so there's a ton of schools, a lot of kids, and from Southern Illinois, and a lot of coaches, and so it was a big clinic. Well, I always helped Coach K run it, so like I had great jobs and introduce speakers at the clinic and kind of network and meet people and kind of get used to meeting people.
Mhm.
And I tell this story all the time. He gave me the greatest job. Is I would take his car and drive to the airport and pick the speakers up at the airport and then drive back to the hotel. So I had them for 15 minutes, 20 minutes
Right.
in the car, driving and driving back and just talking. And I made a really awesome connection with Mac Brown when he was still the head coach of Texas and just kind of got to know him and talk to him. And he still had a house over in Western North Carolina, about an hour from where I grew up, like a summer house that he would
Hmm.
stay at from when he was the head coach at North Carolina. And you fast forward like 2 years after that, and I'm at the national convention in my senior year of college, and it's in Nashville. So I stop which is the midpoint between where I grew up and St. Louis. I stopped there. One of my other buddies that I played with was coaching at Lindenwood University, and he and I were talking. We're leaving a session and walking down, and I see Mac Brown, and I'm 22 years old. I'm just young enough to be stupid. I'm really stupid at that point. I'm really dumb. And so I'm walking and I told my buddy, I'm like, hey, I know that guy. I'm about to go say hi to him. Like, dude, at the convention 20 years ago, you don't talk to those guys. You don't even speak to them, right?
Right.
So I'm walking and I'm just going, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? He turns around and looks at me and goes, hey, Ben. Hey, coach, how are you? And he goes, hey, Ben, I want you to meet this guy. He goes, hey, Philip. It's Philip Fulmer. Like I didn't know who it was. It's Philip Fulmer. He goes, hey, Philip, this is Ben. He's from near you. He's from Johnson City, Tennessee. How that was 2 years ago that he and I
Right.
had that conversation. It was the most amazing. I tell everybody that it was the most amazing thing I've ever. How he was able to remember that. Now, see, you see why he was such a good recruiter for so long, Texas. Because like, if he did that for me, somebody had added no value to his life. Imagine if I was a 5-star recruit, he'd have known everybody in 30 seconds. So it kind of, but honestly, like Larry, Coach K gave me a ton of opportunities to do that, and kind of be around people and help. I got hurt my junior year of college. I guess the spring in spring practice, I tore my ACL in 7-on-7. Jumped up not very high, did not jump very high, but landed just hard enough to blow my knee out.
Right.
And so I missed my junior year because of kind of when it fell, and I wasn't able to play. So I was a student assistant and helped that year. Was still around the team, and I mean they let me run the scout team. With I ran the scout team and did all that stuff, and then came back and played my senior year, and finished up an excessively average career. It was I got a chance to do it and be around and do a lot of stuff. I helped in recruiting at the end that spring. They knew I wanted to do it, and then so Coach K kind of helped me try to find jobs and what I was looking for. I interviewed for a couple jobs and landed a GA job coming out, which I think I would not have gotten that job if I hadn't been coming from WashU. Like
Right.
that was so I GA'd at a school called Bryant University up in Smithfield, Rhode Island, and it was a chance to be in Division I football, which was exciting for me, FCS, and that was something I wanted to see and do, and learned a ton of football. Was around a lot of really phenomenal coaches, but the only grad program they had was an MBA program. So they needed somebody who could get into the MBA program. And I had an undergrad business degree. I was a business major at WashU. So I had an undergrad business degree. I was able to get into school and graduate. They were like, we need
Hmm.
somebody who can get in and can actually do this work and graduate, or they're going to take it away from us. So I was kind of like under the gun. I had to make it work. So did that, and it was awesome. I mean, it was great. Lived up there. I mean, it was a perfect time for me too to live in the Northeast because so many of my friends from college had kind of matriculated to the coast. When you go to a school like WashU, one of these high end academic schools, most of your friends are going to matriculate to the coast or to Chicago, right? So
Right.
I had a lot of friends that were living up there. So it was great. I never really felt lonely. And, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she was an engineer at WashU, had an engineering degree, and she got hired. It took her a while to get about 6 months to get hired, but she got one and landed a place in Boston. And so she was about an hour from me. And, we were up there for 3 years, 3 seasons, had a blast, and that was it, man. It was great. So.
Now, Coach, how important before we move on, how important is the master's degree when I mean obviously I don't want that question to come off like I'm saying a
Yeah,
master's degree isn't
yeah,
important,
yeah,
but
yeah. No, no, no.
how important is it when you're applying from a coordinator to making the jump of being a head coach? How much do they look at the master's degree?
I think a lot of it, honestly, is just like proving that you can continue to finish.
Okay.
It's the same thing that you have with degrees. It's like the degree is not necessarily important. It's just like, hey, you can start something and finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really important. And then the continuing education was great. I think with the masters and having that, it's never going to hurt you.
Right.
It's never going to hurt you. And I think as we've gotten more educated, the ability to continue to do that, especially if somebody else is going to pay for it. That was I think the thing that was most important to me is that I wanted to pass the classes. I didn't want to
Right.
just like go there, and I was a valedictorian in my high school. I didn't want to go there and get all F's and not try because I was just doing football all the time and they wouldn't let me do it. Like I actually wanted to pass the classes. It meant
Mm-hmm.
a lot to me. And so I wanted to have an MBA. I thought that was important to me. So we did it and it was great. I think too, it's so much of it sometimes when you're the head football coach, it's kind of like running a small business, honestly.
Right.
That's really, and so having that generalized business education, like, budgets are budgets, brother.
They don't change. I mean, they change, but basic formula of a budget is a budget.
It's a
So
budget, man. It's a budget. I don't do much calculus, but I do a lot of adding and subtracting. It's like
now,
some
Coach,
multiplication. I don't do a lot of calculus, though.
I listen. We had somebody on WPI's coach earlier in the
Yeah,
season, and he talked about how prerequisite for them is you had to have taken pre-calc as a junior and calc as a senior. And I learned very quickly that I probably shouldn't have even been on the call because as a senior in high school, I wouldn't have been able to spell calculus, let alone do calculus.
yeah,
So now I do have a little bit of a different question, as it's more just a football in your opinion question.
yeah,
You're from Tennessee, you've been north.
yep,
What's the difference between north football and south ball? And I ask you that question because your
yeah,
next landing spot, Coach Turk gave us a very interesting answer on what
yeah.
he thinks the difference between the North and the South is.
You know what? I think that there's people that loved football everywhere we went.
Hmm.
And the staff I was with at Bryant, our defense coordinator, Greg Gigantino, he was the DC at Hofstra forever. Okay. People that worked for him, guys that worked for him at Hofstra. Dane Quinn, pretty famous guy.
Pretty big name.
Rocky Morris, pretty
Pretty
famous
big name.
guy. Okay. He had a run of some big time guys that worked for him. Our head coach, Coach Fine, Marty Fine, he'd been the offense coordinator at Indiana, called plays at Indiana, was the offensive line coach at Iowa State. I think what happened when I came south and worked for Coach Turk, we were playing very differently. When I was in Rhode Island, we were NFL style, pro style football. We were 21, 12, 13 big people. How we
Right.
played fit our guys, right? Fit the people that we had. And so that's kind of how we played. I mean, like we had all grass. They have turf now, but when it was there, I mean, we had the best practice fields and stuff you could ever ask for because the Patriots used to do training camp there. So the one thing we had was fields. We had 6 practices. There were fields everywhere, right? But the grass come up over your shoes.
Right.
I mean, it was like really high, and it was not like Bermuda at all. No, it was a different kind of grass, and so our guy, I mean, we had good athletes. I mean, we had guys, fringe NFL players. We had some really good football players. How we played was a little bit different.
Hmm.
Um, I think that once we got south and I went to go work for Coach Turk, the pace of play we were doing with offensively, we were on the front end of zone read, triple option, spread, going really fast. My second year there with Coach Turk in 2013, we set the national record for total offense,
Right.
585 a game. That's insane. I tell
Yeah.
people now, it was insane. And so won a lot. It just our kids were a little bit different. I
Hmm.
think that but people love football. You find it, man. People love football all over the country. It's just kind of played a little bit differently. I think we had, the reality is in Montgomery, I, I'm Coach Turk could do this. I can't hit a golf ball at all, but he's really good. So he could have gone out on Fairview Avenue and hit a driver in 360 degrees. He's going to find 15 kids that can fly. We
Right.
had a bunch of kids that could run. So we let them do their thing. Our people were big. We were also given scholarships at Bryant, but our people were big people. So we played in a phone booth and tried to break your face. Like that's just what we did.
So Coach Turk's answer to me was a little bit of a riddle. He
Yeah,
said, "Well, you remember when them boys from Florida and them boys from Ohio State met in a national championship,
yeah,
and them that up front, they were big boys. They could not outrun them fast guys on the
yeah,
outsides coming from the side." That was his. So I
yeah,
mean that's very similar.
yeah.
It's
It just fit
speed
how we
versus
played.
power.
Yeah, I mean, it fit how we played. And I'll tell you too, the other thing, and this is real, that's different. Um, in the South,
Mm-hmm.
there's a much more robust Division II scholarship conferences.
Okay.
Like you're talking about the South Atlantic Conference and the Gulf South Conference. Okay. So it's really hard to find big people linemen because they are getting gobbled up by guys.
Right.
Whereas a lot of times now, I think it's changed, but the NE10, when I was living in the Northeast, they were not fully funded, giving a lot of scholarship money around for those Division II. So they were really packaging very similarly to the Division IIIs. And so the Northeast Conference was playing Division I football, but we weren't. They are now, they're in the CAA, but when we were at Bryant, we weren't fully funded. We only had like 30 scholarships. We were funded like a Division II team.
Right.
And so trying to piecemeal those scholarships together, just more people. I mean, there's also more people live there like that, so it's a little bit different. But I think how they play is, and that's what it is. I mean, I will say this in our career, kind of bouncing around. I mean, it's hard. We played in 2018. I was at center. We had a really good football team. We were big. We were huge, and we had some guys that could really run.
Mm-hmm.
But when we played at Mount Union in the second round of the playoffs, that was the biggest, fastest football team I'd ever seen in my life in Division III.
Wow.
I mean, they were awesome. They were awesome. And they were coached really good too. They weren't just really big, they were really well coached. They
Right.
ran really fast and they were really physical and they were really good. I mean, they were really good. They were really good. I mean, we saw it this year.
Yeah.
When we played at DePaul, I mean, they were big, long, physical guys, athletic, but they were not slow. They were not. They could run. That was a really good football team that we played. They were really good.
Right. Now, talk to us a little bit about your experience with Coach Turk
Yeah.
from 2011 to 2017, Montgomery, Alabama. How was that experience?
Oh man, it was awesome. We recruit against them a bunch, so I don't want to like be too nice, won't be too nice. No, I think this is and I've told Coach this and I'll tell everybody this. God put me in Montgomery for a reason. My daughter was born in Montgomery. Our church family we were with in Montgomery was amazing. And I became the kind of coach I wanted to be in Montgomery. Like
Right.
I realized how to coach people hard, how to hold them accountable to really high standards and love them as hard as we can and treat them like they're my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Coach do that all the time. And it was like, man, because I'm telling you, it's he's as competitive as a person as I've ever been around. He is as competitive of a person as there is walking this planet. But I would not have traded those 5 seasons for anything. For anything. Great friends. I think we had a great staff. And I got to know, I mean, I got to make a ton of friends in Alabama recruiting
Hmm.
and people that are friends to this day that still send us players to Maryville, like coaches and throughout Alabama, and that have been really good to us
Right.
and have been good to me personally. And so those were really I learned a ton. And I mean, anybody who watches us play and watches them play would say like it's very much from that family. Now
Hmm.
we do things differently now, and we've evolved and changed a little bit, but um, a lot of similarities. And I think, in the South, Coach Turk has been kind of a real standard bearer for Division III football for a long time. I mean, he really has. I think, I try to remind people like they're the exception, not the rule. Like now there's some things that have happened too. I think we joined the USA South when I was down there.
Hmm.
And he's done a great job of capitalizing on the players they have and that they've had and kept them and coaches them. And he's got good coaches on his staff and guys that I worked with, they're still there, that are good friends of mine, that are good
Hmm.
people. So, but he's done awesome. He's awesome.
And then, so
I'm
after
not,
the,
I told him, I said, we're going to wait a while till we play y'all again because we finally beat y'all. I'm going to let him hold on to that for a little bit, though.
you
We're
just
going to
keep
hold it
that
for a
one.
little bit. We may not play him again till he retires. I don't know yet. We may just make him hold it. So forever. I mean, yeah, you don't, you get one, you got to hold
Keep
on,
it. Hold it. And
hold it.
now, Coach, after those 5 seasons, why was it time to move on to center?
Yeah, I wanted, it was a little bit better opportunity for our family,
Hmm.
a little bit different kind of school. And that was good. Center was a high end, very, selective liberal arts college. It got me a little bit closer to my parents.
Right.
So instead of being 6 hours from home, it was 3. So cut the drive in half. Different kinds of kids. I think that the SAA is so deep and competitive.
Hmm.
And it was awesome. I really made a lot of friends and had a really awesome experience that there's a lot of those kids from center that I still talk to this day and am still close with and that were great. It was kind of like the right time. Um and it was good. Um I didn't want to stay too long
Right.
somewhere. As an assistant, especially in small college, you you stay too long and you get bitter. And there was only so much we could continue to do.
Right.
I had a good sense of completion that, we won something like 19 games in 2 years. My last 2 years at Huntingdon, and we won back-to-back conference championships. And there was a round of kids that I'd been a real part of recruiting and had coached and developed that were leaving, and it just kind of felt like a good time. And I felt like God had kind of opened those doors for us to kind of take the next step, and it was good too. I mean, it was. I thought it was the right time. I just thought
Right.
it was the right time, and I had a great experience with Coach Fry. I think what I learned the most from Coach Turk on a day to day is I had to get the team ready to play. Like
Right.
every week. This is how the team gets ready to play. This is how we do it, get ready to play. And a lot of this, I don't mean this disrespectfully to anybody, but what I'm going to say is Huntington was so new. They had only been playing 20 years at that point.
Right.
A lot of their the alumni were like my age or 3 or 4 years older than me. Like those were their oldest alumni, right? So they weren't that old. There wasn't as many guys. It's changed now. Those guys have gotten older like we all have. But when I got to center, I saw how Coach Fry ran a program.
Okay.
I'm dealing with these are alumni from the 70s, and these are from the 80s and the 90s, and this is how we communicate. And this is why homecoming is such a big deal. and this is what we do year over year, and this is how we communicate, and some recruiting things we did that were a little bit different that I
Mhm.
thought were really cool. Some things that we've tried to mimic. And it's really kind of was a perfect segue. I think both of those experiences at Huntingdon and at Center were the perfect combination of experiences for me to have to lead to take this job.
Right.
I think that I would have been unprepared to be the head coach at Maryville for where we were going and this move we were going into
Hmm.
and joining a new conference and what it was going to take to build us from, you know, 3-7 the year before I got hired to 4-6, 5-5, 8-2 to build if I hadn't been at both places.
Right.
Like I needed both of them. I don't think I know that God put me in those places on purpose.
Hmm.
And the adversities we had and dealing with stuff happening and with all the and prepare me for this job, the unique situation is going to be this job.
Right. Now, talk to me about the interview process when the
Yeah.
Maryville job comes open. I'm
Mhm.
assuming from the other coaches I've talked to, not a lot, and you said it earlier, not a lot of football talk when it comes to
No.
that seat. It's a lot of the recruiting and the how are you going to budget and et
Yeah.
cetera. So what was that conversation like? Who did you meet with?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of had a good snapshot of everybody. You
Mhm.
know, I kind of I came down the night before, and stayed in a hotel, and then got up and came over and met with the athletic director at the time. I met with our president, Dr. Coker. We met. I mean, you meet with admissions, you meet with advancement, you meet with other people in the athletic department.
Mhm.
A lot of stuff like that. That's really what you're doing because in small college you really have to lean on the other coaches, especially as a first-time head coach.
Right.
Because I'm blessed at Maryville. We had, Coach P, Coach Placeris, our men's basketball coach, is extremely successful. They've won 5 straight regular season conference championships. Um, Coach Fernandez was the head of soccer. They've kind of done a little transition, but he was the head coach of men's and women's. But our soccer programs have been phenomenal
Hmm.
and they win. Our softball teams have been really good. So there's been a lot of wise head coaches that I can ask questions of, right?
Right.
And especially as a young coach that can give you encouragement like, hey, I know it's tough right now. You got to keep going. It'll get better. Keep going. Um, and so they wanted to know things like how do you establish a culture? How do you retain a culture? And what's important when recruiting, like what matters to you. And like that's what the rest of the campus wanted to know. Like how
Right.
big you like what's your perfect size for a roster, what size you want your roster to be. Because the reality is, with the exception of a handful of schools in Division 3, we all are, for all intents and purposes, extensions of the admissions office.
Yep.
We are. And we are the affinity group that's bringing kids to come to this college, right? And because if they didn't play football and have great academics at Maryville, the 150 guys I got on our team will go to a different school that had
Right.
football and great academics. They just go to a different one. And so they wouldn't be here. And so like that's all of those questions, that's what it was. It was a lot more of those things.
Hmm.
And I think as every coach, right? I think if you want to be a head coach, you sit down and you got your 90-day plan and you got your calendar and this is what we're going to do months and here's what we're going to do spring practice. And, like I tried to at least look at their academic calendar. So I didn't say we were going to practice during spring break. So it at least made sense, right? You know, but I think the biggest thing is knowing like what is your vision for the program?
Hmm.
And it's not just what is a vision, what is your vision?
Right.
And what is your mission? And what are the core values you have? And they can't be beliefs that you have because that's something you take hold of. They have to be convictions and things that take hold of you. And it's got to be things that are automatic.
Hmm.
And it took me a while to get to that point of studying and really thinking about what do I really want this program to be?
Right.
And what do I really want the vision of this program to really be? Or any program that I'm running.
Hmm.
And we've gotten there. And it got there. And I think part of the reason that was able to land the job is because it was the furthest and most convicted I've been of those things, of what our vision and mission and core values really are, then they've not changed from that day.
Right.
It's not changed, and it ain't changing. So, yeah, I think that's as much as anything.
Now, Coach, talk to me about what is a Maryville guy? What are you looking for? What's the conversation like? What are we looking for in a young man? Minus the fact, and I have to say this because the internet is undefeated and people take that question out of context.
Yeah,
I understand I'm talking to a football coach.
yeah.
So the guy, first and foremost, has to play football.
Yeah,
has to be able to play football.
Yeah.
At a pretty decent level, because you're talking about it's college ball. So what are we looking for in a Maryville guy?
Yeah. So the first thing we tell them is, look, here's our vision for playing football at Maryville. I want to make playing football at Maryville College one of the most incredible experiences of your life. As we help you pursue Christ, pursue a degree, pursue the conference championship, and pursue the national championship. And if you don't want that, this is not going to be the place for you. And that's okay.
Right.
Like that. I try to be on the front end. The best thing that we've done is get the right people in the building. That's been the best thing that we've done, players and coaches. As far as what we're looking for guys that you have to love football. You have to really love football, and you have to have the ability to add value within the program, right? Because we do not recruit, and it may not be he can start as a freshman. That's honestly now very rare, but it is they can help us in the immediate, and then they have the ability to grow within these roles to become something more that's going to be more similar to what they want out of their college experience, right? Nobody wants to be on the dreams of college football, thinks about being on the scout team, right? But that's reality for 90% of the players that play college football. So they have to know that that's most likely going to be their experience. That's okay. But if they love football and they love all the stuff, look, people that aren't familiar, some of the best high school football in the state of Tennessee is played right here in Blount County. Right here. And Maryville High School has won some insane, 12 something state championships. Alcoa right across the street they've won 10 straight. 10 straight state championships. So
they're top dogs then.
Yeah, they like winning around here. Okay. So the thing I say all the time is look, everybody loves when their girlfriend has their number painted on her t-shirt on Friday night and she's in the student section banging the drum. That's easy to love football then. I need you to love it at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I need you to love it at study hall. I need you to love it all those things. That's what I need you to love. I need you to love it during this inside run period. I need you to love it then, not just on Saturday afternoons. That's easy. So I want guys that love football. I want guys that plan on staying and want to graduate, right? I'm a believer the team that loves each other the most is the team that wins.
Right.
Okay. Now, I don't just because I say that and say that to the players and say it to the recruits. We walk into our opening team meeting and I say, hey, remember, guys, team that loves each other the most is the team that wins. And they look around and go, I love everybody in here. That's ignorant. They don't know anybody's name. They're freshmen. They don't know their name. Right. But teams are like any other relationship. Right? It starts with respect. So like we say in the recruiting process, we only recruit people that can have a role on the team. Right. So they should respect everybody because then everybody that's in that meeting was brought there for a reason. It was purposeful for while they're there. So we all have a purpose here on the team. Right. So we respect everybody. Time and shared experiences equals trust. More time and more shared experiences equals love. And so that speaks to you're not going to come in here and sprinkle a little fairy dust on it and I'm going to blow up and I'm going to leave. Right. I would like to think that we are at a point now as a program that we're good enough. We have enough older players that are playing that most of these guys that are coming in, even though they may be really talented players, and we continue to raise the floor of our roster every year in recruiting, they still have not caught up and overtaken juniors and seniors. They're not adults that are out there playing.
Right.
And so that's why we tell them, I want guys that want to pursue Christ and pursue a degree, that they want to get after, they want to do that. And it matters. And they view education as a springboard for opportunity. If you don't view it that way, why would you stay?
Right.
What are we doing? And so that's been the most help. is to be very upfront on the front end with that. And,
Mm-hmm.
then we talk about, we go through our core values. We recruit kids: accountability, hard work, belief, and competitive excellence. And, I think that when we lay it out to them, a lot of times I try to scare them a little bit. And, they're like, oh my gosh, this guy's crazy. And like, okay, but that way, whenever it gets hard, it's exactly what I told them it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything. We don't have to de-recruit guys. And
Right.
what we found by doing it that way is that our players want hard. They want to be challenged. And if we're ever going to be the kind of program we want to be, especially in this new conference, playing in a top 5 conference in the country, they're going to get hard whether they want it or not.
Yes.
So we need guys that want hard, so they're at least not disappointed.
Talk to us a little bit about the new conference. Why the move? What's going on with that?
Yeah, I think it was an obviously a great opportunity for the college to continue to be affiliated with other incredible institutions. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, these are schools that are more similar to us. It's a natural fit geographically for us. For the majority of the schools. Now, look, it also provides a unique opportunity. How cool is it that our guys will get to fly every year? I took that for granted. When I was at WashU, we still played a UAA schedule. We flew once or twice a year every year I was there.
Right.
So I kind of took that for granted, right? That how awesome is it that our guys are going to get that experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had guys already tell me, Coach, I've never flown before. I said, well, you'll be fine. You'll sit right on the plane, just not beside me. Sit about 3 rows back. Don't touch me. Right? I don't want to hear you screaming
There's
behind.
nobody on the wing. There's not a
Yeah,
colonial
ain't
woman on the
nobody.
wing. Everything's
Yeah,
fine.
everything's fine. Just hop on there and go. It'll be good. But they get to play in 6 states this year. I mean, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
they're going to continue to play, get to travel and get those experiences. It's going to be great for their families. It's again, it fits kind of our profile of school.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to measure ourselves and be competitive. I think that if you are able to come out of this conference with a championship or in the national playoffs, you're good enough to win games.
Right.
You are, because you're going to play playoff caliber teams multiple times throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. There's not many leagues that from the team that's going to win the conference championship to the team that'll finish last in the conference standings, the margin is as narrow as our conference.
Wow.
I really believe that. I think it's really well coached. I think that like the days there's no for anybody, there's no 49-7 games in our conference schedule. There's no 70-14 games.
Mm-hmm.
Those don't exist in this league. You win by 2 touchdowns, you're getting after somebody in this league.
Right.
That's the way it is.
And Coach, what's the recruiting map for you? Now, is it 30?
Yeah.
Are we doing like a 30-minute outside of
Yeah,
where the college is?
We try to really hammer the state of Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is having gone to a quote national branded school, WashU, but worked at a bunch of other ones that are more regional branded schools, like Maryville. Our brand recognition is the strongest in the state of Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And, northern Alabama and northern Georgia, western North Carolina, a little bit in Southwest Virginia. But that's kind of our honey hole
Okay.
where the kids kind of fit us. And it makes sense. It's easy to get to, we're 3 hours from Atlanta to here. That's it.
Right.
3.5 hours. It's not far, especially in North Georgia. We got a heavy group of Georgia kids. It's 4 hours to Birmingham. That's it. Not crazy. And so it's pretty easy to get to. 3 hours to Nashville. We try to do within kind of a 3 to 4 hour kind of radius of here.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of fits us. And there's a lot of really good football players. Obviously, in the state of Tennessee, there's some other things that fit, like most schools will tell you with lottery money and stuff like that, that makes it a little bit more advantageous to work in state. But that's also where our best brand is. And, Maryville College in and of itself is an elite producer of educators, like education major, that tons of high school football coaches, high school administrators are former Maryville College football players, not just in the local area, but everywhere,
Right.
right? All through the state. And they send us kids and they send us players, and they're like, hey, this kid will be a good fit. He can do the schoolwork. He's going to fit in here. And so that's kind of been our area.
And then before we jump into the, talking about spring ball and
Yep.
moving on into 2025, this is more for myself. Who's your guys' biggest rival?
Man, it used to be Huntingdon. That was the game.
Right?
That was the daggum Tennessee, Alabama. Hate each other, right? That was the game. Our kids would still say that. We'll see in the new conference. I think that, it's interesting. You join a league, you play, and then kind of rivalries form.
Right.
We have played Center and Sewanee and Rhodes the most.
Okay.
That's because those are the other schools and Millsaps that are like Maryville in that we've played for 100+ years of football. So those are older, more established teams that we've
Right.
consistently played, right? We have scrimmaged and played Barry a lot recently. We would play them first game of the regular season, scrimmage, whatever. So there's a level of familiarity. Obviously, our playoff game with them last year was a big deal. I know that they're going to, like, that'll be a big game when we go down there this year for them. I would anticipate. I know if the roles were reversed, it'd be a big game for our kids. I know that. So I anticipate that being very intense. I don't really know. I'm excited to kind of see. I would love but those first three, Center, Rhodes, and Sewanee, I would imagine those are the ones that my alumni care a lot about.
Right. Right. Um, Now, Coach, let's talk about spring ball
Yeah,
first and foremost. There's been some conversation. First, how did spring ball go this year?
nobody got hurt. It was awesome.
Second,
It was awesome.
would you like to see, now obviously COVID was not good for a lot of things. For the
Yeah.
Division III college football ranks, it did give us a little bit of an expansion into spring ball, a little bit more realistic look.
Mhm.
Obviously, some of us would like to see at least 2 or 3 more days. You throw some pads on, let them big bodies bang around down there. But is that something that you would like to see change? Does it prevent as many injuries as they think it does? Because there seems to be a lot of soft tissue injury, a lot of things coming out of maybe not having that contact for 9 months out of the year, and then 10 weeks you're beating the
Yeah,
heck out of your body.
I think it puts a premium on us as coaches, how we're currently constructed, to really utilize all of our brain power to be creative with the
Mhm.
drills that we do and things that we can do in the weight room to build some of that contact prep, to prepare them,
Right.
right? And what their off-season program looks like and what they take home when they go home in the summer. Now, I what we have is infinitely better than what it was when I was playing. Way better. And like the year before I went to college, they couldn't even have a ball.
Right.
They just ran. They would have been awful. Oh, we're just gonna come out here for three. I mean, the equation. The thing I say is like, imagine if they said you could do fall baseball, but you can't wear a glove. How insane would that be? Right? Or you
Right.
can't shoot. You can do basketball, but the goals can't have a backboard. They can only be the rim. What? Like, okay.
Right.
Now, you tell me, and again, it's because there's so many members
Mhm.
and limited budgets and limited resources, and a lot of times limited field space, right? I
Right.
think the best thing that happened with COVID as it relates to football and other schools is the football coaches proved that we actually would play in the sandbox with everybody else, and we can share, and we're not going to make the trainer stay up here insane hours, and we're not going to be crazy, and we
Right.
don't have to practice at this exact time. We'll move. right? We'll in a non-competition season, we'll do what we have to do. I personally, boy, I think we have 16 is what we're allowed practices. I wish we had 8 with helmets, 4 in uppers, and 4 in full pads.
Right.
I think that would be a nice compromise because there is a level of recruiting and some other stuff that you don't get to do. But like I said, doing it the way that we do it within the parameters. I mean, there's no 11 on 11. A lot of the drills you're not allowed to do and stuff with when you're in shells has forced us to be creative, think about what we're doing. I like how we practice. And honestly, even if we could do full pads, I don't know how much full 11 on 11 we would actually do
Well,
because guys get hurt.
right.
They do get rolled up. And, it
Now,
may be one, we let them go one time, 2 times, once in the middle and once at the end. So they're tackling. I think some of that stuff would be good. But, I think some of the drills that we do, even if they had full pads on, and we would still do some of that. And
right.
because it's been good for especially our big guys. I think it has helped us at Maryville develop our offensive and defensive linemen, the rules that we have in place, getting it done how they want to
Mhm.
do it. One-on-one blocks and individual work has helped. That has helped. It's a better product than it has been. I think Division III football is the best it's ever been across the country. I see these guys on our team now, and I'm like, dude, I wouldn't have recruited me at all. And it's like we got a lot of good players, man. I think, and that's not just us. Everybody's got good players.
Now, Coach, you brought up a good point there, but how often? Because I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was playing, listening to you talk about the 11 on 11. Even at 11 on 11, how often are you really taking guys down to the ground? I mean, I know coaches, everybody stay up, stay up, stay up on your feet. A
Yeah,
lot of thud.
honestly, I think that to me, this is me. Thud practice is about the hardest thing to do. You have to be really athletic to do that.
Right.
And educating our guys, we almost get more out of stuff when they're like in the fall, when they're just in helmets and 11 on 11 because it hurts,
Yeah.
right? To run
That's
into
it.
each
That's an
other.
easy lesson.
Right, it hurts to run into each other. You get these young kids out here, these high school kids, and they just don't. Some of these freshmen, if they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and or you get a mismatch, and you get there in shells, and some kid just runs in and goes through their legs because he's just trying to play, but he doesn't know,
Right.
and it's like having to educate guys on how to practice. To me, it's almost like we practice a little bit differently. We tackle during the season, during the
Mm-hmm.
week,
Yeah.
not all the time. Controlled settings, like okay, we're going to tackle these 9 plays, good on good. We're going to tackle. Nobody gets hurt when we do that because they know they're going. They go
Right.
right. And I think learning how to go versus when to not, and I think it's just it's when you try to go but not quite. Then what my go but not quite is for me may be different from you and different from other people, and then that's how guys are on the ground.
That's when injuries happen.
Yeah, that's when guys get hurt. So it's almost better to let them go.
Right.
Go. So now there is no gray area. Go. And we found that to be safer.
Now, Coach, as we sit today, we're
Yep.
1 week away from week and a day, I believe, from the
Yep.
players reporting to camp, and then football season's back on. How are
Yep.
you feeling going into the 2025 season about camp and about embarking on this in this new conference? And I believe September 6th against Hendricks.
Yeah, we're excited. Our schedule's really challenging, but it's a great opportunity. We've had our coaches meetings. We've been having them all last week and this week, and kind of putting the finishing touches on all the playbooks and doing all the stuff and getting the equipment out and doing the roster, which is the worst job in the world. It's the worst. Everybody thinks they deserve to be number one. Like, no, none of y'all do. But all that stuff. But kids, how come I can't be number 10? Well, because our quarterback's number 10, son. That's why.
There's numbers here.
Yeah, you've been here for 4 minutes. Okay, relax. Right. But I think that we're excited. We're optimistic. I think we believe in our team. I
Mhm.
believe in our team. I believe in our coaches. And, you know, there's going to be good teams that don't have stellar records just the way our conference is currently constructed. There's going to be good football teams that don't have stellar records.
Right.
But the teams that come out of this league with stellar records are really, really good football teams, are really good teams. And
Right.
so we expect to be really competitive. We expect to play really hard. Um, I think we have some individual players coming back that were obviously very well thought of on a national level last year. I'm excited for them to get them back and let them have, a lot of them will be seniors. So one more year with them. They've been really special to me, and I want them to play the very best. I think if we just reach our full potential, I believe in the work and recruiting and development that's happened for this team, that we'll be okay with where we sit if we reach our full potential.
Right. Now, the two big changes that came last year, quite late for those of you that remember, we got one announcement that I think all of us were waiting on: expansion of the playoffs. You've talked about it a couple of times. I don't think there's anybody in the country that thinks that was a bad or the wrong time to do it. Maybe team 41, 42, and 43, but you're going to have that no matter where you put wherever you move the dial.
Yep.
The other big one, and the one that I have talked to the coaches about a lot this season, is the ability to have up to 18 iPads, although I still have yet to find any Division III program that's using all 18 of them, because, you got to have people to run those iPads.
Yep.
Did you guys utilize the iPads? Were they good for you this year? And do you think that leads to more technology coming down? I know that there's talks about the green helmet or green dot on the helmets coming in, not 2025, but 26, maybe 27. Instant replay. I know there's conferences that are starting to introduce that. Is this good for the game?
Yeah, I think all that technology, if you can do it, is great. I think it's great. We did 0 sideline iPads last year. None. And everybody's like, why didn't you do that? I've got really good coaches.
Right.
I got adults that work for me. I don't have kids. So I'm lucky. We've got adults that work here that sit in the box. And when they say, when my receivers coach on the headset and he says, hey, coach, into the boundary, they're running cloud coverage. And I turn the film on the next day, it's cloud coverage. He doesn't miss, right?
Right.
The DB's coach is telling our DC, hey, this is the concept we're getting. We're getting switches. We're getting switch routes. And you pull it up, and that's exactly what's happening. So they don't miss. And so that was hugely beneficial, having the adults in the room. We are now this year, and it's honestly, our league, the USA South, was kind of like, didn't know what was going to happen, and then it happened really late, and it was like, wait, we don't really have time. We are going to do it this year. I think that I do want our kids to feel like they have every opportunity to be successful that everybody else has. And it was real kind of even in the SAA, because last year I sat in on the SAA meetings because we were beginning to join the conference.
Right.
And so it was not a unanimous rule across the board. Everybody was just kind of like, get in where you fit in, do what you can. And so it was kind of haphazard. We just felt like we needed a little bit more time to make sure we did it correctly. Because what I didn't want to have happen is we're, an hour and 15 minutes from kickoff, and 4 of our coaches are up there worrying about something that
not football related.
That's like on a tangent, football related, tangentially football related, kind of, but like not really.
Right.
And so that's kind of like the filmer. It's like, dude, film the game, man. We pay you, film the game.
We're putting you up in a lift, and you're going up here. Film.
Yeah, hit the red button. Just hit it. So I feel good about it. Honestly, I'm most interested. It was funny. Our quarterback texted me this like last week, and he was like, "Hey, are they doing the helmet coach to quarterback communication?" I said, "No, it's not legal in Division III this year. It might be in a couple years, but it's not this year." He said, "Okay," and I said, "Dude, even if they let us do it, I wouldn't do that with you this year, because you want to hear me talking to you up until 15 seconds on the play clock." He's like, "Nah, not really. I don't. Not really." I mean, he's a 4-year starter. He's like, "I want you to leave me alone. That's what I want you to call the play, talk to me in the meetings,
right?
Call the play and leave me alone." And so, but I think that there are some things you can do that'll be nice with doing.
Right.
I'm excited about it. Everybody I've talked to that are at higher levels, friends of mine that I've worked with and stuff, they all swear by it and love it. Greatest thing since sliced bread. So I think that has a real chance to really impact how you play and just kind of what you do.
Now, for you, more or less, with the iPad thing, and I've thought about this a lot, more or less from freshman year to senior year, you're guaranteed 40 games.
Yep.
We all know that it's a fast moving game. It's only getting faster. Referees are doing the best they can. There's one
Yeah.
call that
Yeah.
can take you out of a game,
Yeah.
eliminate a half, and then
Yeah.
another half of football. Do these iPads, does this lean to maybe expediting the situation of Mr. Official, can we look at this at halftime? As opposed to, all right, we're going to send the film to the commissioner, and we'll wait, but this kid's going to miss at least a half of football. And then we'll find out maybe Wednesday or Thursday. And coach, good luck working him back into the game plan and all that. Does
Yeah.
that
I
help?
hope. I hope that, a lot of it is going to be now, the constraints are going to be like, what is the capabilities of the internet and stuff within our stadium?
Mm-hmm.
Viewing angles, you're still, even on the sideline, even on the instant replay, you're beholden to my student worker who's filming it.
Yeah.
Hope he got it filmed. You know, like,
Hope he hit that button on that play.
hope he hit the button. And so, that's part of it. But no, I think that some of the companies
Mm-hmm.
that, and I one of them that uses the NAIs are using, they can get instant replay just on the sideline tablets. Because, I mean, the tablets live upload the plays. So, like, you can pull them up. You could do instant replay. You could do that right there. They just got to
Right.
be able to pull it up and look at it. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if it went to, hey, you're allowed to have this many, 18 on the sidelines, but this nobody will ever get there. We're gonna have 4 total. Like, that's about all we need. But
Right.
like, this one that is this in this red case that is sitting over here, this is for the officials for review. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's in here, it uploads, and it's the home team's responsibility. Like that, I could see that becoming a real thing.
Right.
Make a lot of sense. I mean, if we're adding them to it, like, what's one more? I don't. I
Yeah.
don't. That seems
And
pretty.
then, so let's talk about what would you like to see change? Because you said, I mean, right now, Division III football is operating at
Yeah.
a very high level.
Yeah.
What is something that you would like to see changed nationally that could maybe make that better?
I mean, I think the biggest difference is stuff that we're doing right now. I think the coverage and the people telling the stories of the players
Right.
is really unique. It's way better, I mean, than it's ever been. It's also probably easier technology, and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's less overhead for you guys,
Right.
right? Like, I mean, back in the day, you'd be flying or driving. Like, how do you go do all these things? We're on the phone, and it's like, can I hear you? Where are you sitting? I mean, this is a lot more like a fun conversation interview because we can see each other, right? And the
Right.
technology affords us the opportunity to do that. I think some of the stuff that's happening with a lot of these guys on the internet, on Twitter and stuff, are great with covering the sport. I think they're awesome, and provide our guys with a lot of resources. I think that the game is more national. I think it's more spread out, more balanced than it's ever been. And there's a lot of really good teams.
Mhm.
I selfishly, I'd love to have us get good enough that somebody will come and watch us play. When nobody ever wants to come watch the Scots play, but we're third in the country in attendance last year.
Wow. In the whole country. So that's what, 226
Third.
football schools?
Mm-hmm. We won't have less than 3,500 out of every game we have. It's a football town.
Right.
People
Well, you
think
said that.
it's a
Two,
football town,
two
and
high
it
schools
matters.
that are 22 state champions. They,
Yeah. So,
right.
I mean, I would love to have people come watch us. I think now with this new league, I think the depth of our conference, it's a power conference. It is now. And I think that continuing to showcase all of the power conferences, right, I think is awesome. And then I could see some tweaks to the spring calendar
Mhm.
helping some. Um, but other than that, I mean, there's no way to. I think expanding the playoffs was great. It
Right.
provided real rewards for teams that deserved it. I mean, you almost felt like anytime, 2018 at center, we got an at-large bid. We were one of like five that got an at-large bid, and it felt like we won the lottery
Mm-hmm.
to get. Like, it was just like random. These six things had to happen, and randomly they all happened. Now we won a game, and we were really good,
Right.
but we deserved to be in that tournament. We did, but we shouldn't have had to count on six things in a miracle. I think there's a lot of players that have missed out on an opportunity to play in
Mm-hmm.
the national tournament that deserve to be in it. That were good enough, their teams were good enough. But I mean, you got to draw a line somewhere. But I think having 40, I mean, it's pretty daggone close to being the 40 best teams, honestly.
Right.
It was pretty daggone close. And I think that I'm not in favor of ever saying we're just going to take the top 40 MPIs. I'm not in favor of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think winning your conference should matter.
Right.
And I think that, you know, when I was at, we went to the playoffs 2 years, my last 2 years when I was at Huntingdon, we won a playoff game the first year, lost in the first round the second year, but
Mm-hmm.
won a playoff game. And so I think that, and we won a playoff game this year at Maryville, both of them coming out of the USA South. And so that's traditionally a less than league, right? Traditionally, people would say that. But
Right.
we won playoff games. Well, our champions won playoff games coming out of it. I think that there's some, winning your league should matter. Get a chance to do that. I don't have a ton of complaints. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I wish. I think that as major college football continues to get crazier and crazier and crazier, um, Division III and the quality continuing to improve is going to feel more and more normal.
Right.
You feel more and more like this is what I remember, and this is what it's supposed to be. And our kids are awesome. Our players are awesome. Our players, and not just Maryville's players, but Division III football players
Right.
love football. They sacrifice a lot. Their parents sacrifice a lot for them to be able to do it. And, delivering these awesome experiences. All I've ever wanted with how we run our program is if we have a kid that comes to us from a really successful high school and two of his buddies sign scholarships, that when they go back home or he talks to them on the phone and they talk about what they got going on and he talks about what he has going on, that the only difference is the size of the stadium, that everything else that they get is the same.
Right.
That's an authentic college football experience. Because once you join that fraternity and that brotherhood of doing that, it's really special. It's really special. And that's all we've ever tried to do here.
Now, Coach, with the exposure of Division III, and then I have one other question to follow up with this. Is it smart right now to be for a lot of these schools to be putting themselves behind a paywall? I feel like we want to have as many eyes that can get on it. I know that's a little bit
Yeah,
out
I mean,
of.
I get the numbers they throw around are crazy.
Mhm.
It's significant money for Division III athletic departments. It's not an insignificant number. It is a significant number. We have not done that yet as a league
Right.
or as an institution. We were approached about it in the USA South. As it stands, for me, it seems like we're nickel and diming the parents of our players when we do that.
Right.
That's my one complaint. We ask them to pay tuition. We ask them to pay for their player pack. That's still a rule in Division III. We can't just give them everything.
Right.
We ask them to do all of these things. Also, just because we've changed conferences or we're doing whatever and we're going somewhere and you can't fly to get there, we also ask you to buy a $10 subscription to Random Team X's news live feed so you can watch your son play. That's wrong to me.
Right.
I wish if we did that, that there was a way for us to have protected IP. Each player gets one other protected two IP addresses, just like you would for a ticket list. So
Right.
everybody on the roster, they have to put them in the beginning, and then we can send it off, right? And or email address or whatever it is, and it serves just like the ticket list. Now I'm fine with that if we do it after.
Right.
Nickel and diming every team for everything is brutal, and it does make your all's job a lot harder. It
Yeah.
does make your all's job a lot harder. But I will say, I don't know enough about it. I've not been in one to know if the money they say is going to happen actually happens, but the money that they talk about is significant. Because there
Okay.
are some major brands, it's going to sound crazy to say that, but like there's some significant brands in Division III, like schools. People
Right.
know who they are. Big alumni bases and they've been old. I mean, they're significant.
Yeah. Now, Coach, speaking of significance, and this is the last question before we get into the Fast Five, what's the significance of Division III? And I think you touched on it in the previous answer a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the ecosystem of college football, the significance of Division III is that we're still doing things the way that you remember it. And we're doing things tied to education.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about creating a well-rounded person. What's awesome, about college football is that the professors are trying to teach in their classes in college sacrifice, commitment, grit. That's what they're really teaching. They just use biology or history or whatever to do it. We become the labs for that educational experience. That's what's awesome, is because now you're practicing sacrifice, commitment, grit every day. That's why we create these well-rounded individuals.
Mm-hmm.
We still have the educational aspect of what's going on
Right.
within the school and within their experience. And it makes it really special. It creates an incredible environment and collegiality of experience for every student that's on campus. It matters. And look, there are great things about big time, high level power football. There's a lot of awesome stuff about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's a lot of awesome stuff about what we do too. And I think sometimes people look at it as less than. It's not less than, it's just different. And the experience is going to be a little bit different, but especially on the game day experience will be a little bit different.
Right.
But the rewards on the back end of that experience are just as great or greater.
All right, Coach. It's the Fast Five. This is
I'm
just about
ready.
you.
Oh, God. Here we go.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
I live in Maryville, Tennessee. There's nowhere else to go that's better than this. I can go 15 minutes one way. I'm in Knoxville, great city. I go 15 minutes the other way. I'm in the mountains where people spend $1 million to have vacation homes. I tell all our players, anytime when we go travel and go visit, the only place closer to heaven than Maryville, Tennessee is Gray, Tennessee, on Hales Chapel Road at Keyland Dairy Farm. That's the only place closer to heaven than Maryville, Tennessee.
All right. All right. Um, what's the most important lesson thus far that you've learned in your career?
It's about the players. Always about the players. It's
Right.
about the players.
If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
Oh man. Oh God. I'll tell you what, the coolest internship I had in college, I actually was like, man, I really want to do coaching after doing this. I did after my sophomore year, no, after my freshman year, I interned with city planning in
Okay.
Johnson City. I thought that was actually really cool. So that was a cool job.
All right. So you'd be a city planner, basically.
I thought it was awesome. I was like going around, going to these sites, and I was like, dude, this is really cool. Like I'm figuring
Okay.
out what's going to happen, and I'm telling all my buddies, hey, they're going to put this here and put that there, and they're like, no, they're not. And like a year later, like, dude, I told
Boom.
you, here it is. I told you, man.
Um, what's the best compliment that you've ever received?
Man, no, I hope they. All we've ever wanted to do is when they see us and see our players, they see Jesus. That's all I've ever cared about. That's it.
And then on the other side of compliments, What's the best insult you've ever heard?
Best insult. Okay, all right, this is real. Okay, so I got plenty of those. My daughter, one of her best little friends. All right, and my daughter's in the fourth grade.
Okay.
So set the stage. Her little friend has two little twin brothers that are first graders, and they're, you know, they're telling me, "Oh, you should go." They just make fun of me all the time. They just roast me all the time. I go to their soccer games and they're making fun of me, and they're like, "Oh, you can't eat that," and I'm like, "Why?" They said, "You got too much meat on your bones." I'm like, "Bro, just call me fat. Like you're 7." Like,
That was a very educated way of calling someone fat too.
personal, dude. They went right at me, man. Shout out Miles and Owen, dude, the dynamic duo. They roast me. So, yeah,
I
they
am glad that I don't have to interact with first graders or fourth graders.
I told my wife, I was like, I gotta go on a diet. I'm going on a diet.
They got you
These
self-conscious.
kids are making fun of me in front of everybody, dude. They're lighting me up.
And then, Coach, last question I ask everybody. Was there a question you were expecting me to ask you? And if so, how would you have answered it?
Not really. I was kind of open. I thought you crushed it, man. I thought you crushed it. It was, look, I'm really appreciative that you thought enough of me to want to do it.
Right.
And I'm appreciative that you are telling these stories. And I think that this is awesome. And I think the work that you're doing is awesome. And I love that we have people that believe in our game and are staying on the table to tell our stories, our players, our coaches, because they deserve it.
Coach, I really appreciate those kind words. And I appreciate you taking the time. I know we had a little back and forth real quick to try to get this scheduled out, but I'm really happy that we got you on for this season. Best of luck this year. And for those of you sticking around, you know what comes next. Hopefully I'm beating Serenity and DB in our picks over in overtime. But this has been Coach Ben Fox, the head football coach at Maryville College, and we will be right back, Chuckleheads.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Dingo Talk. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. For more info and to contact the show, you can find us on Twitter @DingoTalk.